Now, I think it's pretty safe to say that the future of the Star Wars franchise seems to be quite expansive, not just with their books, novels, comics, and video games, but also, let's not forget about their new Star Wars trilogy of films, as well as their new Star Wars TV shows arriving on Disney Plus by Bob Iger, Bob Chapek, George, John, and Dave, you name it. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about Disney Star Wars is that we do know that they are now currently in a phase of damage control. There's no doubt about it. They're really trying to pick up the broken pieces and putting everything back together to the way it used to be before 2012. Now, everything that came before 2012 is when Star Wars was pretty well regulated, right? A lot of people began to really kind of accept the prequel trilogy a little bit more at the time. I would say around 2010 or 2011, right around there, where the book Crucible was in the works before it released back in 2013, just after Disney bought out Lucasfilm. And here we are now in a very interesting scenario where we are basically rebuilding Star Wars. Disney is building it from the ground up. We've got Bob Chapek really trying his absolute best to create his own legacy within the Star Wars franchise, to really give fans exactly what they want to see on the big screen, and how they want to see authentic Star Wars material that's going to come to life in the form of live action. So keep in mind that regardless of Kathleen Kennedy still being involved over at Lucasfilm with one Star Wars project, keep in mind that it's just one Star Wars project, and that of course is the Leslie Headland Star Wars TV series for Disney Plus. However, what's really intriguing all has to do with creator George Lucas and the new Star Wars trilogy of movies for, of course, the next couple of years that's going to expand the Star Wars lore that we have never actually seen before. So, with that being said, now with the Skywalker saga completely finished by Disney and Lucasfilm, they are currently focused on their new Star Wars trilogy of films as well as their new Star Wars universe. Now, it's explained that both Bob Iger and Bob Chapek are both developing major plans in order to reunite the Star Wars fans around the world in order to make the franchise as successful as it can be. However, it's noted that creator George Lucas is set to work on all three new films on the new Star Wars trilogy that is currently in active development and is described to serve as a co-writer for the new trilogy in order to make the films more in line with his vision of Star Wars and what it means. So, it's also described that George Lucas will be handling the structure of the Sith King of Exegol in the new trilogy and will be using many ways of his abandoned ideas from the prequel trilogy movies that were not used that will now be placed into the new Star Wars trilogy. So, let's stop right here for a second. In case you guys did not know, the Sith King of Exegol is said to be a major component of this new Star Wars trilogy, or this new era, if you will. What's exciting about this is that it has a loose connection to the rise of Skywalker. Now, some of you guys out there may already cut me off and say that that's a horrible decision to actually have any form of a connection to the rise of Skywalker, and I can understand that. But it's not going to be a direct connection to the characters like Rey, Finn, Poe. It's going to be more so a connection to the dark side. A great example is that throne that we do see that Palpatine is sitting on. That is actually not Palpatine's throne. That is actually the throne that once belonged to the Sith King. Now, that is all going to be explored in these new Star Wars films, and how it's really going to resonate with Star Wars fans is that they're going to add a lot more history to the overall Sith Eternal. We're going to learn more about that as well. And I could see as to why J.J. Abrams placed all of this within Episode 9, because we do know that he was originally working with David Benioff and D.B. Weiss on the side on exactly, what the new Star Wars trilogy was going to be like, and how that was all going to connect to the sequel trilogy in a very light way. So we can obviously see that that was their initial plan, and they're kind of resurrecting that, to be honest, here. Now, beyond all of that, Lucas has already had discussions with Bob Chapek about the structure of the new films, and that Lucas is aiming to make them the darkest Star Wars movies in existence, and will be in charge of choosing the main writers and directors of the new movies that will explore the unknown regions in greater depth. So once again, These new films are going to explore the unknown regions. Now, we got a little glimpse of the unknown regions in Episode 9. It was all the Palpatine sequences, it was all the Exegol scenes, it was the battle over Exegol. That was all the unknown regions, and a lot of fans wanted to see more of that, and that's exactly what we're going to see, more so in this new Star Wars era. So keep in mind that what George is doing is that he is actually going to serve as a co-writer for a portion of these new Star Wars films, and that he's going to be the one to actually decide exactly who's going to actually become specific writers of those movies and directors per se. Now, Lucas, alright, is said to get some help also from creator Steven Spielberg, surprisingly, who he plans to make as an executive producer for at least one of the movies in this new era of Star Wars that will be very original for fans to see on the big screen. It's further noted that Spielberg is already attached to a handful of new Star Wars TV shows for Disney Plus that will explore the other timelines that have never been created by Lucasfilm. Now, the new films will also deal with the worlds between worlds as well as new force powers, such as flow walking, which will fall into time-traveling capabilities in this new universe. So once again, we've got these new realms making their way into the new Star Wars movies that's going to be done in the form of live action. Something that I think a lot of fans are going to be very excited about is the fact that Dave Filoni is going to have somewhat of a role in all of this. So Dave Filoni, alright, is said to have some form of input in the new trilogy in order to give fans an accurate illustration of those realms on the big screen in the form of live action, such as the worlds between worlds, the netherworld of the Force, and other realms that will be explored like Mortis. This is a very interesting approach to Star Wars because it seems like what they are doing is that they're really exploring the dark side, the light, and just the Force in general. It's more catered to that. It's going to be less focused on wars per se, like how we saw between ships and starfighters and such. It's going to be more in tune with the ways of the Force, and I think that's something that a lot of fans have been asking for a very long time now. So I think that at the end of the day, a lot of fans are going to be very happy to see exactly how this is all going to be done on the big screen. Now further, Lucas is already working on the new trilogy with some of the creators that are already on board for this new trilogy in order to get things done prior to production. Lucas is also giving and of course going to use some of his original concepts of his version of the sequel trilogy that will be implemented into these new films that will give it a magical tone for the fandom. Now, Disney at this point is described to want to make these films right for the fans and wants to insert tons of Star Wars Legends content that they can enjoy on the big screen. Now, this new trilogy will also use a brand new composer since John Williams will no longer be a part of Star Wars. So let's stop right here, is that John Williams sadly will not be a part of these new Star Wars movies. They're going to have to find somebody that's going to be pretty much on par with John, and that's exactly what they are doing as we speak. They are on the hunt for a new composer to take care of the music of these new films. Now, I don't blame John Williams for wanting to walk away from Star Wars. It's his choice at the end of the day. He's up there in age. We've seen these Star Wars movies have, a lot of setbacks back and forth between David Benioff and D.B. Weiss and other writers coming on board and them leaving because of creative differences. And here we are now. Pretty much things are concrete with, of course, the future of Star Wars films. So, of course, the most exciting aspect is, who is the new composer going to be, and will it sound like John Williams, right? So, a handful of actors are already cued to play specific roles in these new movies, such as Jennifer Connelly as a brand new villain in this trilogy, and how she has already been in the talks with Disney to hop on board of the franchise and become one of the new villains, and even actor Keanu Reeves. We talked about this before in the past, is that Keanu is already in the talks with Kevin Feige, alright, who comes from Marvel, the MCU, who's helping out with Star Wars and is going to do everything in his power to really make Star Wars on par with the MCU. He wants to make it pretty much as successful as that, helping Disney, get another franchise up there in the works on the level of success. So, like I've said before in the past, guys, I think that regardless, things are looking brighter for Star Wars. I cannot wait to see what the future holds. And yeah, guys, with that being said, drop a comment below. Let me know about all of this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.